We always, I mean, the mantra here, if we could put anything on the wall, is simply this: we're either making or saving money, right? Now, since I'm in IT, with electronics, we can't really make any money. So we like focus, like anything, save money. And save money in a lot of ways, right? We try to come up with processes that make sense. We look at technology and find the technologies that help us to be more efficient, to do all the things that we need to do with less and less. As fast as the technology comes out that is applicable, we just hunt to use it. Just get all the resources on board to figure out, well, how can we use this thing to help us save money, right? We can make a particular process more efficient. It's people, distracted people who think that they're doing stuff that's important, but when you measure it, are you saving money? Are you making money? No, then it's not important. And of course, people have their own self-importance, so they want to like drag you into their stuff. So I just have to remind them, hey, it might be important to you, but it's not important to me. So we just stay focused on what we need to do, right? Now when I look at my schedule, I can show you my calendar. Triple book, quadruple book. People don't care anymore. It's just say, we need you in this meeting, join it here, and they book you. So now I have to choose. Now sometimes, right, they might be right. Like the meetings are all important. So let's say you got 3 meetings at 11 o'clock that are important. What do? Right, I can't put myself in 3 places. So here is where a tool like Colabus would make a huge difference, right? Because now we don't have to actually be in a meeting. You can kind of organize things in such a way that people can kind of organize resources, pull things together. Even if you're not there, everything is there. You have a project manager organizing everything. So at your convenience, you could go look at it and make a contribution and move on. In a lot of cases, we have, a lot of our meetings, we pull people together. You have 10 to 12 folks in a meeting. And even at best, even if you were able to get all the right people, all the contributors, for the most part, if we have an hour-long meeting, the contributors, their part is maybe 20 minutes of solid contribution. So if we had a tool that can allow them to make their contribution and then release them, it would be so valuable. You get a good 60-70% savings there from that. Because a lot of these folks I know, like myself, they're like me, they're all double and triple booked. So if we're triple booked for an hour, that's an hour where we're stuck in one place when we really need it in 2 or 3 places. So if we can be more efficient and say, well, let me make my contribution 20 minutes here and I'm done, I can go to the other meeting and make another 20 minutes. So I can be in 3 places pretty much within that hour. And that would be a huge savings for me. Miscommunication is a huge part of what causes us to be ineffective and inefficient, right? And then a lot of times when you have a miscommunication, you don't know that you have a miscommunication right away, right? It takes something going wrong for you to realize, well, here we miscommunicated, right? But if there was a way that we can document and retain a lot of information and make sure that all this information gets to the right people, then a lot of that miscommunication goes away, right? And that in itself, there's another 50% savings in terms of efficiency. Knowledge retention. In our organization, we have, maybe 20% of the resources are what we would call superstars. The other 80% are good, but we need to find ways to help them to be better. Now, we have a lot of projects. You can't always send all your superstars to them. It's just not possible. And in a lot of cases, we don't need to, even though most people would like to have all the superstars at their projects. But we can, if we had a tool that allows us to, retain, organize, and reposition a lot of the knowledge, we can send someone who is not a superstar but very good to these other situations with data, with information, to help them to be successful. And over time, all that experience, that knowledge, working, gaining the experience working with these things, working on these projects, helping to build up their confidence. Within 6 to 9 months, now you have an additional superstar. Or 3 places. So if we can be more efficient and say, well, let me make my contribution 20 minutes here and I'm done, I can go to the other meeting and make another 20 minutes. So I can be in 3 places pretty much within that hour. And that would be a huge savings for me. So here is where a tool like Colabus would make a huge difference, right?
I see is that the user interface is very good. I see, it's a nice interface that has ease of use, drag and drop and so forth. It looks like it has the basic components of what an organization would want to use, right? You're capturing text information, you're capturing emails, project-based information, all the things that would really encompass, some collaborative work activity that an organization would do. So that's really important to do that. Had over 100 different organizations having to come together using the same plan, basically having a similar task and deliverables over a specific time frame, and also providing status to the appropriate people. So it met the need for us. And what we found is that there's a pretty significant amount of time savings in doing that. Rather than creating the templates and all the collateral that you needed manually, using a system and then actually statusing out of that system was very beneficial. Now, one tool that we can basically share across the organization and enterprise and say, here are all the functions and features. So you have people sit in that tool throughout the entire day, to collaborate. Not going in and out, but they actually use that as their main collaboration tool. That rallies a large organization, multiple organizations together, and for a common cause, right? Use cases. If you can show, demonstrate that, hey, like if I'm in finance and this is going to help me with my quarter end, month end closing, and here are some steps you can take, and here's how easy it is, then that would be very beneficial. If I'm running a project, a system integration project, that would be very beneficial too, to see how that all fits together. So you have to kind of develop these use cases for these sweet spots of users that are your target audiences that demonstrate that value and show them in the mind shift that this is the one tool that you want to go to. Or multiple organizations within a company itself, as I mentioned, that has to focus on something. A good example might be a new product introduction. I've managed NPIs as they went out. And if you think about all the different teams that have to do that, right? They have to come together, the marketing teams, the development teams, all the support teams, the sales teams, and et cetera. They have to come together, to really understand what's going on, the schedules, the milestones, what functions and features are available for them to sell and to support and so forth. So having a tool like that would be very beneficial. Where everyone can see on an ongoing basis, the progress of how you're moving along for a new product introduction. That would be an example where you have to rally the entire company, right, and getting that information concise to them with very accurate status too. To do that through email, to do that through sending decks around and stuff like that is very laborious. That's old school. If they have something they can just get into and see that and share the information, that becomes very valuable. I find is like for new product introductions is there is a lot of documentation required. There's support documents, there's sales documents, right, that the different team members need and so forth. So having a place that you can go to, a one-stop shop, where you can actually get those documents to help sell, to help support, or whatever you're actually doing within the life cycle of this, it definitely becomes valuable too. It could be a large system integration project too. It could be like a large Oracle ERP implementation across the company that affects a lot of people. Things that involve all of the design, the development, the testing, the rollout, and support. It could also involve change management. If you think about change management, how do you get people to change? Well, there's a couple ways. First, you have to assess the impact of the change. Here's what I'm doing today. Here's what I'm doing tomorrow. Documenting that so people understand what that really is about, understand what that impact's going to be. How do you actually take that and get stakeholder alignment? How do you get the people at the very top to align with that project itself? So there's collateral that's needed for that, right? There's use cases that are used for that type of thing. How do you communicate effectively across the organizations and getting them involved in that? This tool would be very, very effective in doing that.
With my business, we have several processes that we need to go through during the sales process anyways. First and foremost, of course, you do the technical portion with the engineers, making sure that they know what the product does and so forth. Once they decide, we go through the purchasing department to get the whole purchase request process and the purchase order out. After that, we have to get all the facility guys involved, and the facility guys will deal with the regulatory bodies like the fire department or whatever requirements that they might have within the company, because everybody has their own standard operating procedures to make it run. So in my business, since I'm in the sales business, I have to worry about the whole process, from the technical portion of talking to the engineers to the final installation and training that is required by the company. So it's a challenge to try and get everybody on the same page. And I think Colabus software will be able to help me in reducing the amount of time that it takes me to keep everybody updated. Now, one of the biggest issues that I have is that when I want to keep everybody involved, I have to email 10 to 20 people to tell them the order was placed, it's being built right now, and when it's going to ship. Once it ships, I will have to give them a heads up to make sure that the site, the customer site, is prepped for receiving the equipment. And that includes electrical work, construction work, and as well as sometimes they also have to get, like the fire department to come and inspect the building. And so everything has to be in concert. Everything has to fall into place. If not, there will be delay. So a short delay of maybe a day to two can end up being a couple of months. And that means I have to still be involved in the project. And that means I waste a lot of time trying to resolve all these issues instead of going to the next project. What we do is we're a sales organization. We sell to Silicon Valley, pretty much all types of test equipment for the technology world. And I have two guys, and we have some challenges in trying to manage big projects. And I think this is where I think your software comes into play. I think Colabus can help us in a lot of ways.
Over the past probably 10, 15 years, in terms of the competitiveness of all the markets, they've gone more global. The product life cycles have decreased significantly. And the combination of those with increasing competition has put tremendous amount of stress on companies, and in particular the product development functions within those companies. The big push on reducing the time to market, coupled with the globalization and the demand by the customer base for unique solutions, has resulted in almost like mass customization. This has all increased demand for collaborating across boundaries, across languages, and cultures. The tools that we've had in the past, be they email or formal documentation and even processes, as a consequence, have broken down. And you see a lot of inherent friction in organizations that keep you from really achieving your potential. That has resulted in a need for a new generation of tools. Tools that are much easier to use, tools that really promote seamless collaboration with a minimal amount of overhead. I've been in situations where you see email chains that go on for days without achieving any sense of closure. And that's because it's hard to extract necessary information out of a lot of dialogue. So how do you go about solving these kind of problems? Well, obviously you need better business processes, but you need also better tools. And that's where a company like Colabus comes into play. They can offer solutions to help address a lot of the communication and collaboration problems, in particular across teams operating in different countries with different social norms and different languages. That's when email starts breaking down. That's when even spoken communication starts breaking down, because there are different assumptions about timing, there are different assumptions about priorities, there are different assumptions about how to communicate the basic technical information. So it's really critical that as organizations look for ways to optimize and get better functionality out of their resources, that they address the tool limitations, not just the organizational limitations. So one of the biggest challenges that I faced in managing large organizations, and I've seen multiple times, is speed to a decision or speed to action. And as the organization size grows, you have a lot more people, a variety of functions, all having to come together to collectively attain a conclusion. If you don't have the right data, if you don't have the right background, if you don't have the history, a common set of history, then that speed to decision breaks down. Right? So again, collaboration and the tools of collaboration become extremely critical to getting everybody up on the same page, same playing field, and understanding all of the different variables that enter into it. If you have, say, 3 or 4 different teams, which is pretty common now, and they all have a different set of history and different understanding of what's happening and where they need to go, then how do you get them on the same page quickly? You cannot do that through email. You cannot do that even through a 20-page document. People won't read it. So you have to be able to pull together the organization in ways that really differ than when you can put them all into the room. If you look at one of the attributes of Agile and Scrum and such, is get everybody in the same room and let's all move forward together. Let's put things on a board. Let's manage it that way. How can you do that when you have a team in India, a team in Japan, and a team in New York? It's not going to happen. So you need a virtual set of rooms that everybody can participate in. If it's not organized in an easy way, if it's not easily accessible, then it's lost. It's like conversations. And therefore your your tools need to be able to do that. And that's an extremely important aspect. I've been involved in organizations that have a lot of online tools, but finding any information on those online tools is extremely painful, and as a consequence, it's not used. People would tell me, hey, the information that's online, just go look here. And if it takes me more than 30 seconds to find it there, I'm not going to go very often. So again, it goes back to having the right platforms, the right tools to make the information accessible, make the information organized, make the information useful so that it impacts the decisions that you're trying to make or impacts the problems that you're trying to solve. And it's got to work across multiple time zones, multiple cultures, multiple languages. So very early in my career, I learned the concept of to pay for a day. If I look at a development project, let's say you have a 1-year project, and just to make the math easy, say it's a $12 million project. 12 months, you're spending $1 million a month. You can break that down to a day. Okay, so now you're spending tens of thousands of dollars a day. So the project team, the project leader needs to be thinking about, how much am I willing to pay to take a day out of my project? How much am I willing to pay to take 2 days out of my project? When you look at it from that perspective, even 5 to 10% increases in the effectiveness of the team that result into reduced time to market has huge benefits from the project cost perspective. But we all know that particularly in new products, it's not about just the cost of the project, reducing it 5 or 10%. If you get to the market a few days earlier, a few weeks earlier, the benefits in terms of margins and market window are enormous. Any new tool, any new platform, broad-based across an organization from scratch. It's very hard to get it right, and you're going to meet an enormous amount of resistance. So you have to have a certain amount of patience, but you also have to maintain a vision on the importance of bringing your organization to a higher level. If you lose that belief, if you lose that vision, then the rollout will stall and you'll never get the investment back on that initial work, and your organization will continue to function at the level that it was before. And if that happens, then the rest of the world is not standing still. So even if you're performing at the same level as well as you were 5 years ago, just means you're performing significantly less well than everybody else, because everybody else is making progress. So again, it's always a challenge to try something new. There's always a mountain that you have to climb before you get over it, and you have to understand that. That's just part of the change management process. So leadership is about understanding what is the right hill to climb, so that there is an absolute benefit when you get over that hill, and then been able to communicate that vision to the organization so they give it a shot. And then trying small, experiment, learn, and take the hill one piece at a time. But once you get over that, your organization will be performing at a much higher level than it was before, and that's a benefit that stays with you forever, that you can build on and then roll out through the rest of the company.
I think it's awesome. It's extremely powerful. It does a lot of things that you wouldn't expect it to do, and it does it in easy, really simple ways. The trick is trying to figure out and help people get into the tool and realize that it's safe. It's easy to do. Just give it a try.